This episode of the MMA Complex podcast is brought to you by HollerOckGear.com.
Go to HollerOckGear.com, register at the site, and use the promo code COMPLEX15 to get 15% off your order. It is some of the best sports apparel money can buy. Again, go to HollerOckGear.com.
Hi, Bruce Buffer here, and you're listening to the MMA Complex.
Welcome to another edition of the MMA Complex. My name is Josh.
And my name is James.
And we are back with a brand new episode. On today's episode, we have EBI 7 two-time featherweight champ Eddie Cummings is on the show today. We were in attendance for EBI 7. Action-packed weekend of jiu-jitsu. You had Metamoros on Sunday. You had Bellator on Saturday. You had really good events. No UFC, but a fantastic events over the weekend. But we were in attendance for EBI 7, and we have the champ, Eddie Cummings, on the show. Let's get right into it. We're back with a brand new episode. Thank you for all for listening, watching on YouTube, everything. We have a good show for you guys today. James, it's brand new week, brand new episode. How was your week? What did you think about EBI 7 and the fights overall?
Yeah, I mean, EBI 7 or EBI in general was always an exciting event to go to. I mean, I always look forward to going to their event. Yeah. Their mat was lit up this time around, so it was the presentation-wise, they looked really nice.
Yeah.
Some parts of the tournament was kind of hard to watch. I think it was time-consuming.
They dragged a bit,
but
right?
Overall, it was a great show.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you too. The presentation looked really good. The mat was a white colored mat this time. The logos really stood out. The sponsorship logos. The presentation is always top notch. Competition is always top notch.
Yeah.
We had a few of the competitors on the show leading up to the event, and it was a good event overall. I mean, we got to get in contact with a lot of our regular friends and people in the industry and some of the fighters that are always there in attendance. And if you haven't seen a EBI or been to a jiu-jitsu competition before, I would say go to EBI.
Yeah.
In terms of the tournament overall, I would say this tournament was dragged a bit in certain matches.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the reasonings were. I'm trying to figure
Well, maybe I think EBI 6 was an absolute tournament.
Yeah,
so
that was exciting.
Yeah,
this one
they had big guys going against small guys, so the matches kind of ended quicker.
Yeah,
this time around it seemed like the matches kind of took time.
Yeah, the pacing in the matches it wasn't like I don't know, it dragged a bit for some reason.
Plus we had Buffer on this one. Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, Bruce Buffer was in attendance. He was doing the announcing. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The crowd was always participating and driving up the excitement during the matches, rooting for the guys that they want to win.
It's a very pro wrestling kind of style of a crowd. They do their chants and I always enjoy that.
Yeah, no, but it was good. I mean, I enjoyed it. Always have a good time there. But I would say this was probably the tournament that dragged the most. But the last one was super exciting. The ones before that, and I'm excited for the next one in September. September 11th is another one, and that one's going to be awesome too. So
yeah.
But the tournament overall was cool, and we have the champ Eddie Cummings, man, who made his performances and his victory at the end of the tournament just seem like nothing.
Like flawless. It was a flawless victory for him.
His matches were over and done with quick. Like he was a main event in the finale, and it was just like nothing. It was over and done with. One of those quickest matches was like 15 seconds, 14 seconds, something like that. It was super quick. He made it look really easy. And the guys over at Danaher and with Gary Tonin and all that,
Ryan
Gordon and all that, they make it look so easy, and when they go into these tournaments they do very well. You know, I mean, they won the last few.
Yeah, definitely Eddie Cummings' performance was the most dominating, quickest out of all the competitors. But one very exciting thing that happened at EBI, obviously we're friends with the guys at Full Mood Fighting, Richard Hunter and Frank Mir, and we're invited to be on their EBI live show. So you guys can catch that. You can catch Josh and I on the Full Mood Fighting podcast that drops tomorrow, Tuesday, July 19th. So go ahead and go to fullmoodfighting.com should catch that episode, or you can go on iTunes and Stitcher and just search Full Mood Fighting. You can catch Josh and I on their show. So thanks for Frank and Richard Hunter for allowing us to be part of their show.
Yeah, they have a fantastic podcast. It's really fun. When we see them, it's always a great time, and they were gracious enough to give us a spot on their show.
Along with Bruce Buffer.
Along with Bruce Buffer is on the show too, so make sure you catch that episode. And again, it drops tomorrow. But first off, we want to go over some of the biggest news and topics of the week. First, we have the flyweight division. You had last Wednesday night, you had Michael McDonald against John Lineker in the main event. That really set the tone for the rest of what the top 5 of the division is going to look like. You have John Lineker, who's made a definite case for a title shot. He looked, it was a back and forth war, slugfest to the end. I didn't really think McDonald was going to just engage in a slugfest with Lineker, but he did, and it was Lineker who came out on top. What did you make of that division now, and how do you feel Lineker's place in the division? You think he deserves a title shot, or do you think Wilson Hayes should get it first? What do you feel?
Well, first of all, I think that the flyweight division is, it's more exciting with the 2 guys in that division. Both guys who are willing to trade. Both guys who have a very exciting style. I think Lineker does have an argument to become the number 1 contender. Although Hayes was promised that title shot, I think he should fight. Hayes should fight the champion first. If not, then I wouldn't hate the fact that Lineker gets that shot. I think that card that was played on Wednesday night was more exciting than all the 3 cards for International Fight Week. But I definitely think that Lineker deserves that shot. I think that Wilson Hayes, deserves that shot. But if he doesn't get it, I wouldn't hate the fact that Lineker gets that next shot.
Yeah, I would agree. So, what do you think of the UFC putting on events right after a big event like 200? Because they've done that before.
Yeah, I don't like it because I think it overshadows the event. I think people are kind of in the hangover mode. Yeah. Because the UFC put 3 back-to-back 2 shows on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and then 2 days later you got another UFC event. Promotional wise, I think that card lost a lot. I think people were didn't know too much about that card. It was more like a surprise, and it's unfortunate because that card was really exciting. I think there's only 2 decisions in the whole card, and I think the UFC should at least wait at least a week minimum before they put another card.
I think for hardcores, you're kind of looking forward to it, even though you're fight fatigued. I was still looking, okay, cool, fights on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. But I would agree so too, because it was one of the lowest rated fight nights of the year.
It's unfortunate because it was a great card,
and it was a great card. It was probably even more exciting than some of the cards over the weekend, like James said. But yeah, I think they should at least give it a week. The week after, let the other promotions do their thing, and then come back with a strong card.
Yeah, so that card can get focused on promotional ways.
Yeah, or even because they put it on Wednesday, even if they pushed it to the weekend. Yeah, it might have been better. You know what I mean? Like the
Saturday card.
The week after, yeah, Saturday card.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But for the Wednesday after, and everybody's coming back to work on Monday, and they're just flying back from Vegas on Sunday night. It's a lot, and you could tell it wasn't really a good choice based on the ratings. Yeah. So we'll see, but I agree with you with the division. Lineker, Wilson Hayes, any one of those. Demetrius is king, and I don't see any one of them really putting up that much of a fight against Demetrius. Yeah. Even with Lineker, with his power, we've seen Demetrius handle guys that have power, and we like with what's his name, John Dodson, who's even probably just as much power as Lineker, but quicker. Yeah. And Demetrius handled him no problem, so I don't see him having any trouble with the other guys.
I agree. Yeah, he's probably the best wide-rounded fighter, not only in that division, but probably in the whole UFC roster.
For sure.
And also on Saturday night, Bellator had another card. It was a Bellator 158, a card that was really exciting. And one of those fights, obviously, Santos fought MVP, and MVP hit him with a hard shot, hit Santos with a hard shot that fractured Santos' skull. And then, Santos, Bellator doesn't have any health insurance for their fighters, so now Santos had to go and create a GoFundMe to help pay for his medical procedures, and it's unfortunate. And like your thought on that incident and the fact that these guys have to find their own pretty much a way to fund their own medical expenses.
I mean, it's the way it's been for forever until the UFC actually adopted the health insurance thing. But guys had to use their purses to pay for their medical. If the organization didn't help cover it. I think Bellator recently posted today that they were going to step in and help cover, if not fully cover, his medical expenses. I know on the GoFundMe page, it was only up for a few days. They had a $20,000 goal, and
That's amazing.
As of earlier this morning, this is Monday morning, they were at nearly $17,000 for a $20,000 goal. So not bad. I'm not sure since Bellator stepping in if they're still going to be able to use the money. I think so. There's other expenses probably that he's gonna need. I think they're gonna even cover some of the win bonus, give it to Cyborg and all that. Something I didn't go into too much detail, but I know Bellator stepping in, helping cover his medical expenses, and this is just the life for fighters outside of the UFC when it comes to health insurance, which is a big thing. I think. I'm not sure if any of these other organizations are really going to adopt that. They don't have the money or the backing like UFC does. Bellator eventually, I think, can get there, especially with the Viacom backing them up. Obviously, the Viacom's not putting all their money into Bellator. They're getting what budget they have. Health insurance for right now is a luxury that basically only UFC fighters have. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to echo what you just said as far as Viacom. Viacom's a multi-million-dollar company that backs Bellator. I think Bellator is a big enough company where they should have health insurance, for their fighters. It's one thing that these fighters are getting underpaid as it is already, and most of the time after a fight, fighters have to go and pay their managers and pay pay for the training camp. So that's already expensive as it is. Yeah. So I think having Bellator pay for or have a health insurance is a good idea. Hopefully they do. Hopefully Viacom steps up and throws money at Bellator to have these health insurance. I think it's important, especially in a dangerous sport like MMA, where you guys can be getting injured, left and right.
Yeah, sure.
And also, at UFC 200, we obviously lost Jon Jones in the main event due to a potential USADA violation. Those tests came back. Both A and B samples came back positive for an estrogen blocker. Your thoughts on Jon Jones testing positive for an estrogen blocker and what's next for Jon Jones at this point?
Yeah, so I mean, for the fans who don't know, this is a Monday episode.
Yeah,
it was confirmed today by the commission and USADA that Jones did test positive for 2 different estrogen blockers. This is big news and bad news for Jones because estrogen blockers are not necessarily known to be found in supplements and all that stuff. This is something that you have to get prescribed. This is something that you get from outside sources. This is not good. I think each one carries a 2-year suspension potentially. He could be gone for a potential 4 years suspension. So it's not a good spot to be in. He's not in a good place right now. It just got confirmed today, so he's been temporarily suspended by the commission. USADA hasn't handed down their suspension yet. It could be 2 years each. It could be 2 years for each one, or I mean just for the combined 2. I mean, who knows? We're gonna not see Jones for I think quite a while for sure.
No, it's unfortunate. It's like a great cloud hanging over Jon Jones' head, man. He goes. Yeah. He's he gets in trouble with the law. He has all these things that's doesn't help in his case, and now you have him testing positive for estrogen blocker, something that a fighter takes or someone takes after coming down from PEDs. They usually take an estrogen blocker to come down from that PED. So it's obvious that he's taking that PED, and he wanted an advantage. So
it pulls into question everything else he's done. I
didn't know about that. His legacy can be a question mark at this point.
Yeah, so. And I think a lot of people are questioning his his weightlifting. He was doing a lot of weightlifting, and then possibly he was using during that time his time off, and needed something to get himself off, by going back into competition.
Right.
And he didn't really test positive for the OSP fight, but he got popped this time around, and maybe he was, I don't know, who knows when and how or why he was using it or how long he's been using it for. But when you get caught with something like this puts into question your entire career.
Yeah, exactly. And and we knew the rivalry of him and DC, and I think, in my opinion, maybe Jon Jones wanted to make sure that he didn't lose that fight, and he was doing probably anything he can to get an advantage.
Maybe.
Because he didn't want to lose against DC, especially for the title. So, and now we can, potentially see him this 4 years of his career. And I think at the end of the day, his career is going to be looked at from his troubles outside the cage. And now with his violation, people are going to be questioning, like you said, what he's done inside the cage as well. So it's not a good thing for Jon Jones. It's like one bad thing after another. A great clouds over him, and hopefully he finally learns from his mistakes. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, and then we're kind of seeing with the way USADA works now, and how some of these guys' suspensions have been either reduced or extended, or now that the fact that the commission is no longer the governing body in the UFC, like before, if somebody got popped, Jones would probably just be facing maybe 2 years. Now he could be facing 4. The commission, at least the Nevada State Commission, isn't, they're taking the back seat and USADA is the driver now. Mm-hmm. So it's different. It's weird. It's nice to see something that's a little bit more by the book,
more firm,
a little firm, and you know what you're getting. Whereas with the commission, remember the freak show that they were, especially the Nevada State Athletic Commission.
Because I honestly think
it's nice. It's good and bad.
I think if USADA was in the picture, you'd probably get like a 90-day suspension, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe like a year tops. Where with USADA, first offense is 2 years automatically. So
you look at Vanderlei, he was banned for lifetime.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, which is crazy. But no, you're right. It was a good point. And another superstar on that 200 card that got flagged for violation was Brock Lesnar. And it's. Well, details on it came out as far as what he's being tested positive for or what he got flagged for, but it puts both the UFC himself, Brock Lesnar, and the WWE in a tough spot. Your thoughts on Brock being tested and what this does for Brock's future in MMA?
It could be the last time we see him. I don't know. We don't know yet because we know he got popped for something. He did like 6 tests and got popped for 1 or something like that. Or 5 and got popped for 1. But we don't know what he got flagged for. We know what Jones got flagged for, but we don't know what Brock got flagged for. So he might be in the same situation as Yoel Romero, where he might get just 6 months, or he might be in the same situation as Jon Jones. So I think time will tell with that, and we'll see what happens with Brock. I think it's, people would question whether he was going to, obviously he comes from pro wrestling, you question his size and strength and all that, you question him already. The smell test, he's off the charts, but with these tests, we don't know yet. We don't know what he's going to get popped for. So
yeah, he got tested actually 8 times. The first 5 tests, he got tested 8 times. Oh. The first 5 tests came out clean. It was a 6th test, which was taken, I believe June 28th was when the 6th test was taken. That tested positive. So it doesn't make sense to me why he would, test. Test negative for the first 5 tests and then decide to take something knowing that he's going to be tested, a lot more times. It doesn't make any sense.
It might be just a supplement.
Yeah, who knows? But, I think it's the last time we'll probably see him in mixed martial arts because he's still contracted with the WWE for the next few years. And I don't think Vince would want his superstar, in the news in a negative way again. So I seriously doubt Vince would let him do it again. Also, it's a precarious situation for the WWE because Brock's can compete at SummerSlam, although pro wrestling isn't regulated by the Nevada State or by the New York State Commission. It's the promotion. Vince McMahon has to be regulated through the New York Commission.
Yeah,
and who knows if he's even allowed to compete in pro wrestling under suspension by Nevada. I think I heard that the New York State Commission has to hire a New York licensed physician to clear the wrestlers. So I don't know if that's going to leave Brock in a precarious, whether or not he can compete. Because if he's under a suspension and he can't get cleared by the physician, can he compete in SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't think he can. Like I said, the wrestlers aren't licensed wrestlers, but Vince McMahon is licensed by the commission. So I don't know. It leaves the WWE in a difficult situation. We'll have to find out how things play out. As far as what he got popped for. So I mean, if it was tainted, then it's not that big a deal. But if it was a PED, then it leaves both the WWE and the UFC in a tough spot.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it is pro wrestling. I see why they've put into the drug testing and they've gotten very strict on that. With previous wrestlers in the past, having health issues and dying, they want to make sure their athletes are taken care of and taking care of themselves. I see that, but then it's like, why I don't know.
Well, I think what the WWE has, does have a wellness policy, and wrestlers like Roman Reigns, who got tested positive for a PED, gets a 30-day suspension. But now that Brock Lesnar is in national news because he is an MMA fighter who got tested positive, and his by your side, so it's a well-known thing. Usually, guys in WWE, they get tested positive, but it's only people don't know about it in that wrestling bubble. Well, with Brock Lesnar, everyone knows he tested positive, so it'll look bad on Vince's part not suspending Brock Lesnar from wrestling because everyone knows he's a suspended fighter for a PED. So it leaves him in a tough situation. So
it's a tough situation.
It forces WWE to suspend arguably their top star out of SummerSlam, which is
on their next card.
Yeah, with SummerSlam is their second biggest card behind WrestleMania. So it's an unfortunate situation for both parties, and I don't think Vince is going to let Brock do this again as far as competing in mixed martial arts. And Mark Hunt had some interesting comments after the news broke out that he tested positive for a potential violation. Now Mark Hunt wants a cut out of Brock's purse.
Not just a cut; he wants the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah. And if Brock Lesnar does get his purse taken away, I think he's looking at 7 figures of his purse taken away, which is probably be the biggest purse in history as far as
Which some of it's going to go to the commission too, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So your thoughts on Brock's Mark's own comments as far as him wanting his whole purse?
No, I mean but he's also asking to be released if not. So I don't think they're going to release him. He's not going to release him.
No, he's on the contract, so
he's probably going to get like maybe 20% of the purse.
Yeah,
he's not going to.
Which is a lot because Brock, his guarantee just to fight in 200 is a lot of money.
I think they're going to talk to Mark, work out a deal with him. He's not going to get released, and he's not going to get the full amount for sure. Yeah. He's going to get a good portion of it. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for sure. So that was. Some crazy stories come out of this past week with both Brock and Jon Jones, but again, Josh and I were at EBI 7. We spoke with the EBI champ Eddie Cummings after his big win at EBI. So here, enjoy our interview with a post-fight interview with Eddie Cummings, EBI 7, 105-pound champion. How's it feel, man? It's back-to-back championship for you, man, and it's been a long time. I think you're out the last couple EBIs.
Yeah, I've been injured for 2 EBIs now, so it's really, really good to be back. Like the last 2 EBIs, like I was here, I was ringside cornering, Gordon or Gary, and just like, I'm so happy for my teammates. I'm so happy, and it's reassuring to know that even if I get hurt, I have teammates who can step in and win huge events, no problem, on a week's notice. But there's a part of you that wants to be in there too, that wants to be pulling your weight as a teammate. So I'm really happy that this weight class I could come down and perform on behalf of the team. John Danaher and then my training partners Gary, Gordon, Tavi, all of them. So.
Awesome. Talk about your training in terms of how did you make it look so easy up there, man?
Did it look easy? Because it wasn't easy. Everyone was really tough.
The most impressive,
Everyone was tough.
By far, performances. Yeah,
really.
By far,
I think everyone was very tough. We prepped really hard. Like John really meticulously managed the camp. He was on me every day. I mean, every day, hours a day. Just Eddie this, Eddie that. He worked some new things into my game, as you guys could see. That was really tend to be a bit of an old, stubborn grappler, and he's really he's working into new stuff that was very successful. I think a lot of confidence in that, which was great. I mean, this was I was supposed to have a super fight with Gio like 4 weeks ago, but like Gio got some nasty staph infection, so I was like cutting for 8 weeks. I was training for 8 weeks. This was just a long process, which switched quickly to the EBI rules. A lot of overtime prep we did still. That was probably the hardest part of the camp, physically training. Mentally too, just trying to work new things in the game in a competitive setting was challenging. I really got to give Jon Jones credit with really trying to diversify my game. He's been trying for a very long time, but he's finally starting to sink in a little bit, which I think is making me a much more dangerous grappler. And it's a lot harder to deal with. I mean, this plan that worked, it didn't, if it looked easy, it's because the strategy was so strong, right? We have very strong leg attacks that are already developed. So when we attack the legs, people keep the legs away, knees back, head low, hip ice, and go to the back. So if we're dangerous off that movement, off our back takes, we go back legs, and it's sort of an unstoppable combination. If you can be good at both of them and good at the transitions, which I think my sensei realized and really tried to steer me towards, and I think you just saw that strategy work very, very well tonight. And every specific opponent we had different plans for as well. That was, I think, the overarching theme of what happened. So I think it's the strategy you need to celebrate, not necessarily the performance.
Like you were injured for the first couple of EBIs, and now you're back. Was it like ring rust for you, or is it a lot of pressure defending that 145?
First match, the first match was such a tricky one too. Sergio is such a good grappler, such a tricky game. Came in with such a tricky game plan, which we actually prepared for that specific game plan called blizzarding. It's a very, very creative strategy. We have a few guys at the gym actually that do that. So. So we prepared for that. But it was sort of like a tricky first match with the ring rust. It's like it would have been better to have more of a fundamental grappler. Would have been better to have Chad George first. So it's like, okay, you have a guy who knows his game, who knows jiu-jitsu, straightforward, and you're just gonna have to defend passes and the guillotines and stuff. So so the first match maybe a little, but after that it definitely sank in.
And your gym with Gordon Ryan and Gary Timmons, you guys have been on a roll. You guys have looked impressive each and every hour. What do you attribute that to? Obviously, Danaher and you guys' training overall, but how do you feel about the fact that your teammates are doing so well? You yourself.
I think it just is a testament to our instructor. Really, you have to give it to Jon. He teaches us movements. These are his moves. These are his ideas. He's not just sitting there, maybe showing a random move here or there. He's really working on the game plan. He spends a lot of time with us. So you really do have to give him a lot of the credit, I think. And I think Gary and Gordon would agree with me here. We also, Gary and Gordon themselves are great grapplers. Gary's extremely creative. Like on the mats, if I'm working on an idea, I could show Gary something, he'll come up with 3 ideas I'd never thought of, and Gordon will steal all those ideas. Great, and then rename them the Gordon Ryan Special number 3.
Right. Speaking of Gordon or Gary, recently he had like a super fight with Paul Harris, and you're talking about maybe doing a super fight with Gio. Yeah. Is that something in the future you want to do too? Is go outside the EBI and compete in these super fight?
Absolutely. Polaris. Hopefully, there's a Polaris coming up. I think soon, and love to get a spot in that. I think we are working on that. We're trying to figure out opponents and stuff. Always have a good relationship with the Scramble and Polaris guys. I like super fights a lot. I prefer them to tournaments in a sense, where it's like tournaments. Half the strategies, if you're not submitting guys quickly, your body's taking abuse. You can't overtime 3 rounds. It's just, no matter who you are, it starts wearing you down. Whereas in a super fight, you just have this guy. You're spending energy, he's spending energy. You don't have to think about the future fights. So, but both formats are, I think this tournament is an exciting format for the fans. Yeah. But the super fight cards, Polaris is fantastic. Some of the best grappling cards in the history of grappling, so Yeah, so I think there's an argument for both formats.
Right.
And how does this tournament win mean? What does it mean to you? This tournament win compared to the first time around? And what do you plan on doing with the money?
Pay bills.
Pay bills.
I know. I got nothing exciting to say. Bills, man.
Well,
Like I live in the city. I don't do. I do jiu-jitsu for fun. Like when you're in camp and you're working on specific game plans, it's fun in a different way. Like you're working on meta and strategy, but you know the whole world's going to see it.
Right.
So it's like it's much more nerve-wracking. When you're at a camp, jiu-jitsu becomes really fun again. You go in, you experiment, you play. You get to work on other things. So there's this sort of two types of jiu-jitsu you do sometimes. So I'm going to do more jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's what I like to do. Like, you don't do this if you don't love jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you don't love grappling, do not choose this as a profession.
You know what? Right now, the sport of jiu-jitsu is at its highest. With the UFC Fight Pass going behind it, and especially the Awesome MMA movement is really high, and people are really excited about it. How does it feel to be showcased on UFC Fight Pass? I mean, obviously, like you become like a rock star in the jiu-jitsu world. How does that feel? And is that like extra pressure? You come into a tournament going to be on UFC Fight Pass?
I think Jon had a talk with me before this tournament.
Yeah.
And he basically talked about all that, right?
Yeah.
Because this is on UFC Fight Pass. This is some of the grappling events.
Yeah.
These are the grappling events that more people have seen than any other grappling event ever, right?
Yeah.
I think we all that's like a fact, right? Like with UFC Fight Pass.
Yeah.
So when you start looking at that, it's like, wow, a lot of eyes on you. But you really have to block that out, I think, as a competitor, to express the art in its purest form.
Right.
Like if you start really thinking like, oh, did I look bad there? Or, oh, did people see this? Or like any thought in your mind while you're competing against guys at this level that's not strategic or like this clear zen state is a mistake just as bad as if you left an elbow out or a neck out. Like it's just as bad a mistake. So you have to guard against thoughts like that, I think. So.
All right. So, congratulations on the win. Let the fans know where they can find you on social media. They can follow you throughout your career.
Eddie Wolverine on Instagram with an Eddie_Wolverine. I don't like that nickname, but my manager does. And I'm on Facebook as Eddie Wolverine Cummings. I have an athlete page, so look me up. Jeff Chu's on there posting photos and all stuff. And check out my teammates too, Gary Tonin and Gordon Ryan, also over the Facebook, and John Danaher, or Danaher John on Instagram.
Eddie,
There's been a lot of wisdom on that Instagram. Trust me, that's the one to subscribe to.
And that was Eddie Cummings, EBI 7 featherweight champ, two-time featherweight champ. Thank you for him to giving us his time post EBI 7. It was a fantastic performance. Probably one of the best we've seen out of any of the EBIs.
For sure.
And he's super nice and always gracious with his time. And thank you for Eddie Cummings for allowing us to interview him and being on the show.
Yeah.
Next up, James, we still have a lot to get to. Right now, we have there was some news of Rousey was participating in a speaking engagement recently over the week, and she alluded to a potential return for her. We don't know when. It could be later this year, but definitely revenge is in her sights, and she has, the girls, especially Holly Holm, in her mind, and she's still thinking competitively. What do you make of her comments saying that revenge is a an expletive, and what do you make of this potential almost confirming that she wants to come back?
I think it's very exciting. I think the women's bantamweight division is as exciting as it can be right now.
Yeah.
With the champion, before when this division started, the whole division was pretty much wrapped around or built around Ronda Rousey. Now she has a lot of options, and options are always good. I think if I would Holly Holm is a bad choice. I think the fight would be the same result.
Yeah.
But her coming back and fighting girls like Nunes and Tate would be excellent. She can win back her title, defeat Miesha Tate. But I think the Holly Holm one is a bit of a question mark. But I mean, her coming back is really, really exciting.
I think it's great. We actually have some confirmation from her. She's been almost MIA for the majority of her time off.
Right.
She really hasn't done any speaking engagements, any public speaking engagements, and the fact that she's finally has done one. She also did a commercial recently. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked. I mean, where she's like all dressed up and it looks like a Hollywood set, and then she starts tearing down her clothes and looks like she's ready to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's setting it up. We could see her before the end of the year. who knows, man? That would be cool.
Yeah,
That'd
she
be
looks
cool.
good, man. She looks good. She looks mentally. She looks good. I think that break was a good thing for her. You know,
Yeah.
she had so many things going on when she was active. I think now is the best time to do it. Her return in New York would be pretty epic.
Yeah, that would be a good show for her to be on as the New York show. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But you know, you got to take these comments with a grain of salt. But coming from Rousey, she doesn't say much, and the fact that she's alluded to potentially coming back, that's some big news.
Yeah. Sure.
The next thing is her opponent, Holly Holm and Conor McGregor, have both been awarded awards at this year's ESPY Awards, and in two categories. So McGregor won Best Fighter, which has been previously held by fighters and boxers, majority of the time just boxers, and we're saying Mayweather and Pacquiao have pretty much held those.
Right.
Those ESPY Award nominations and wins. Anderson Silva, Jon Jones have all been nominated in the past, but nobody's won. McGregor is, I think GSP was he nominated too?
I think Ronda Rousey was nominated.
She was the first,
and she was the first female fighter, first MMA fighter to win.
So McGregor's the second, but you know, you're coming off of was Mayweather Pacquiao 2? Was that, or Pacquiao, was that last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had that fight. You would think that they'd probably give it to Mayweather, but I think the reign of the boxer in that category is kind of dying off. You have Rousey winning, and you have McGregor winning. So that's big. Then you have Holly Holm winning biggest upset over Rousey, which is a big news for her too, for getting an award. Obviously, one of the biggest upsets in sports history. What do you make of MMA's rise in popularity on the mainstream, and especially with the ESPYs?
Yeah, I think it was great. I think the fact that John Cena was a host kind of gives pro wrestling like a little rub by ESPN.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But I think ESPN did it for a couple reasons. One, I think they really felt that those two fighters were deserving, and two, I think that once the Fox deal ends with the UFC, I think ESPN wants to get a grab at the MMA world and seeing the rise of popularity. So I think ESPN nominated those fighters, and hopefully they would win for their advance as well. And as far as those two guys, Ronda Rousey and McGregor winning, I think it's a great thing for MMA. You know, people are now expecting sport MMA as a legit sport and a mainstream sport. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Once the Fox Sport deal ends, it's going to be interesting to see, especially with new management, new owners of the UFC, what that's going to be like.
Yeah,
that's going to be interesting. If there's going to be a bidding war, if ESPN's going to be a big player, if Fox is going to remain on control, who knows, man? It's going to be interesting to see. Maybe HBO, some of these other
and also help with the ratings of ESPN, because I know right now they're struggling. So.
Yeah, ESPN hasn't been doing well. They've been losing a couple of their analysts to Fox, haven't they? Like guys from Skip
Bayless, who hosted First Take, was ESPN's one of their flagship shows besides SportsCenter. He left for Fox, man. So I mean, Fox is grabbing a lot of big name ESPN guys, and I think ESPN is looking to recover by getting the rights to UFC.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when that time comes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much most of the news of the week. We'll obviously, a lot of these stories are going to develop. They're going to the drug test, Brock, Jones, all that stuff. It's all going to, these matchups are going to come up too during the week. You have a big fight this coming weekend, and we're going to get to those fight picks soon. One of the matchups that really stood out to me that was made over the week was Dustin Poirier and Michael Johnson for September 17th Fight Night card in Texas. What do you make of this matchup? And these guys both are coming. I think they're both coming off victories, especially Dustin Poirier. This matchup, what do you make of it?
I think it's a good matchup. I think especially for Dustin Poirier, he looked pretty impressive against Bobby Green. And I think this is a good fight for him to continue to build on his win streak and potentially fight for a title in the future. I think this is an exciting fight. Two guys like to stand and bang. I think Michael Johnson is an excellent striker who can bring a lot to the table. And again, Dustin Poirier coming off that victory with Bobby Green, it'll just add to his win streak if he becomes the victor.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that I would probably go with. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting fight to go. I'll probably go with Poirier.
Yeah, same here.
Just based on the momentum he has right now, he's looking better and better. But but let's see once that fight comes up.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get into some fight picks. There's a lot to go over this week. You have Bellator 159, Caldwell versus Tamianglo, and you have Home versus Shevchenko, which is the big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's on Saturday the 23rd. You have Bellator on the 22nd, and you have Legacy FC on the 22nd also. Legacy's on Access TV. That's Drysdale and Span. Make sure you catch that. That'd be Friday night, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Bellator same night, Friday night. Bellator 159, Caldwell versus Tamianglo. Let's get this card pulled up real quick here just to take a look at maybe the main event and the co-main event. 1 second. You have Gallard. You have Manuel Sanchez on there against Daniel Wetchel. You have Melvin Gallard versus David Rickles. And a pretty stacked Bellator card. A really interesting fights. I mean, Melvin Gallard is making another fight. I mean, he hasn't done well in Bellator at all.
Yeah.
They're still putting up in main cards and co-main events and main events. I mean, obviously he has a name and people are just gonna want. That's a recognizable name. You want him on the main card at least. Manuel Sanchez is we've had him on the show before. He's a good friend of the show. He's gonna do. Hopefully he does well against David Wetchel. I don't want to play any favorites, but he's obviously been a part of the show before. So
sure.
Props to Manuel Sanchez getting on the card. He's on the rise in Bellator. It's a good card, really stacked card. Make sure you catch that. That's on Friday nights.
Spike TV.
Yeah, but the biggest fight of the weekend is definitely Fox 20. UFC on Fox 20 it's making its 20th appearance on Big Fox, and they're coming out with Home versus Shevchenko, which is going to be a stellar fight. Two kickboxing enthusiasts. You have Home, a decorated boxer, kickboxer, and Shevchenko, who's a kickboxing legend, not legend, but it's stellar record in the world of kickboxing. But just on the undercard, you have Frankie Saenz on there. You have Jim Eilers, Jason Knight. You have Eddie Wineland on the undercard. It's a really good undercard. But the main card is really fun, I think. Kaylin Curran, Felice Herring is kicking off the main card. Two women that are rising, big names. Yeah, big name with Felice Herring. Kaylin Curran is a rising star. What do you make of this fight? Who do you have?
I'm really excited for this fight. The fact that it's going to be on Fox, Free Fox, is even better.
It's even better.
I like Curran in this fight. I think she's a younger, more aggressive fighter out of the two.
Yeah.
It just seems like Felice Herring's her mind somewhere else most of the time. I think
yeah.
She's a lot of distractions. I like Curran to win this fight.
And Felice has been doing American Ninja too.
Yeah.
Kaylin Curran has she's started training at King's MMA over here, so she's local to California now. Really good gym. Obviously they're working on her a lot. It's going to be an interesting fight. Did you see Felice in the countdown show?
I did. Did
you see how big she looked?
Mm-hmm. She's huge.
She looked huge, man.
She's huge.
Just the most athletic I've seen her. She's obviously working on her wrestling.
We haven't seen her in quite a while either.
We haven't seen her in quite a while. How did she do against? I know she lost against Paige, but I mean she hung in there.
She fought once after that.
Yeah.
So
after the Paige fight,
I believe so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or she hasn't. Well, she hasn't been out for. She's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a good fight. I'm gonna go with Felice. I didn't feel that much. It's during I was watching the countdown show, the preview show. Kaylin Curran seemed a lot more composed. Felice is obviously coming off the long layoff. During the preview show, I felt Kaylin Curran, but I think this time around I'm gonna go with Felice. Just
be fun.
Just to be fun, but I think Kaylin Curran's wrestling has always been her conditioning there's been a knock on her, and just based on how Felice looked in that countdown show with the wrestling, her conditioning, I mean, I might go with her, just based on experience too. Bojan Milovic, that's Francis Ngannou. Ngannou's a beast. He's a big ass dude, a big French guy.
Yeah,
almost like a Czech Congo 2.0. I'm gonna go with Nagano.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
same
because
here.
it's just a brick house, man. That guy's huge. And then you have Edson Barbosa versus Gilbert Melendez. This is a barn burner. It's going to be a very fun fight. Who do you have for this one?
I think I'm going to pick Barbosa. I think Barbosa is the more aggressive, harder, more clean striker out of the two. Mark Henry is a genius when it comes to striking, and I like him to maybe win via TKO.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Barbosa too. I think obviously Gilbert Melendez has the wrestling. He could implement that game plan and possibly win the fight, but Barbosa is a beast on the stand-up. His conditioning is top-notch. He's a bigger guy, and stronger guy. So it's going to be
a more active fighter.
Active fighter, way more active. So I'm going to go Barbosa. Also, I think he'll pull out the victory. He did well against Ferguson, up until he got submitted. But Holly Holm, Shevchenko, main event for your Fox 20. This is Saturday, July 23rd, Chicago, Illinois. Who do you have for this main event?
It's a very exciting main event. I'm picking Holly Holm. I think Holly Holm realizes that she messed up in that main event against Misha Tate. I think she wants that title shot, and I think this is a perfect matchup for her. Someone that's going to trade and bang. I think Holly Holm is a better kickboxer of the two. Her style is perfect for this fight, and I think she can win this fight with a head kick knockout, maybe.
Possibly. I mean, you got two stellar kickboxers here that made transitions to MMA. Obviously Holly has a flaw in her submission defense. Shevchenko is at least a decent wrestler, decent submission artist. I think they're fairly even matchup-wise. I'm going to go with Holly, mostly, in my opinion, based on footwork. I think her footwork is going to give her the victory.
She's a bigger girl, too.
She's a bigger girl. I think she's going to keep that distance, and she's going to be able to land her shots. And I think Shevchenko's just going to pretty much play her game.
Right.
So those are our picks for this coming weekend. 3 fantastic cards. And I hope you guys enjoy them. We're obviously going to cover them on the next episode. And we want to thank Eddie Cummings for being on the show. EBI 7 champ, 2-time champ. I mean, the guys in his camp and Danaher and all that, they are stellar. They are some of the best, and they've cleaned house at the last few EBIs, and Eddie Cummings did exactly the same. I mean, he made it look easy. So thank you for Eddie Cummings for being on the show. We want to thank you guys for watching, for listening. Make sure you tune in next episode. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to iTunes, make sure you give us a rating or leave a comment. Follow us on everything on social, the MMA Complex. Follow myself, MMA Complex Josh, on Twitter. Go to MMAcomplex.com for all your things, the MMA Complex.
You can follow me on Twitter at the MMA Complex. Again, like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter at the MMA Complex. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel, and don't forget tomorrow on
Fun Fighting.
So Fun Fighting drops tomorrow with Josh and I making an appearance on that show. You can go on Stitcher or iTunes for that, or just go to funwithfighting.com. You can hear that episode. So subscribe to the show and our show as well. And as simple as this gets, man, just tell a friend about the show and spread the word about our show. And next weekend, a very exciting fight between Holly Holm. We're going to recap all the action. So until then, enjoy your week and enjoy the fights.